Okay, Night of Champions is done, and ironically, they did actually throw in a tag team match, a tag team turmoil match. That's one of those ones where they'll kind of have every tag team fight gauntlet style. Now, I didn't know they had that many tag teams. I primarily know of actual 2 tag teams that actually have names. Hart Dynasty and the Usos. They started off, so you have new tag champs. Drew McIntyre and Dashing Cody Rhodes. I really didn't even know they were a legitimate tag team. So, new champs there. Ms. Daniel, mistapped. Daniel, new champion. I was on the fence with that one because I figured that one could actually kind of go either way. But, you know, Daniel still has some indie dates he still has to do, but I assume as a U.S. champ. Kind of interesting. Ziggler retained. Kane retained. Show won. You know, most of these matches weren't. Almost everyone knew Kane was going to retain to actually build up for the Undertaker versus Kane at Hell in a Cell, which is a much more bigger match than having that champion. So now we're down to, wow, we've already discussed IC Tag, US, and the other one, as well as the Heavyweight Championship match. So now the real downer. Beyond the fact that the Hart Dynasty lost the belts to the non-Usos, or to anybody else who actually has a tag team name. An actual name. That's really aggravating, you know. They've got, Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov. It's not a tag team, give them a name. Legitimately give them a name. If you don't have any tag team, you give them either a bizarre, compilation of their 2 theme songs, like they did, with Showmiz and Jericho, or Rated RKO. You give them an actual name. Even DX. Give them a name, put the belt on. If you don't have a name, you shouldn't be able to hold the tag belts. Even the Rock and Sock Connection, the 2-man power trip, just give them some form of a name. I don't care if it's Dash and McIntyre, or Dash and Drew, Cody and Drew, whatever. Just at least give them a name. Even Miz and Morrison was a redo of Eminem. Just give them... Women's title unification match. Of course, it was Michelle McCool. Always Michelle McCool. People got really upset when Triple H married Stephanie, but he was ironically a world champion before they got married. He's actually a decent in-ring competitor before he and Stephanie started dating. Michelle McCool has got to be the first woman to hold both belts, and now the first one to be the unified champion. All because she was dating and then later married The Undertaker. Where are all the people upset about this? Yeah, she's not bad in the way of Divas wrestling, but that's not saying much with the current crop of women wrestlers in the WWE. Now, of course, we get to come down to the 6-pack challenge match. Ironically, if you recall in my initial video, my predictions, I more or less mentioned that I really didn't see Jericho or Edge doing anything. First, let's Jericho and Edge. I did kind of make mention it would make sense for Barrett to eliminate Cena to try to keep that going. And Barrett eliminated Cena. So it came down to Barrett, Randy, and Sheamus. And I knew it wasn't quite the time to put the title on Barrett. So now down to Sheamus and Orton. Orton has been on an absolute, complete, and total tear recently. He is as white hot can get. And of course, he is the new champion. And the crowd went nuts. It's amazing how fast they were able to build him into almost like the new Austin. You had the rattlesnake, he's the viper. I get the snake references, So all in all, this came off like a previous pay-per-view. Most of the matches were kind of, you could really kind of tell this was very predictable, except for the Danielson-Miz match. Most people thought if Miz would have lost, he would have cashed in and he would have, became champion. This really is another pay-per-view where Miz could have done almost anything. It falls in line a lot, kind of like the previous pay-per-view, where people are waiting for Miz to cash in that Money in the Bank. He didn't. Which means he's waiting. And knowing that Money in the Bank actually happened after WrestleMania, and they're currently hyping a champion versus champion unification match, if Miz were to hold on to that belt, Miz would hold on to the briefcase until after the unification match, which, if it is between Undertaker and somebody else, he won't do it because you don't pin the Undertaker at WrestleMania. But between any two other people, Miz could jump in and become the first, the second new unified champion, which would actually be very impressive. So anyways, going back through it, Ziggler retained, Kane retained, new WWE champ in Orton, new tag champs in McIntyre, Rhodes. Michelle McCool is the unified women's champ. She might as well chuck that belt into the garbage. The only bright spot is we won't have to see the purple butterfly anymore. Sorry. And yeah, I guess the only other highlight would have been Daniel Bryan. So now beyond being a Ring of Honor champion, he can now add U.S. champion to it, which will make for something pretty interesting to see what it is he's going to do and what his next feud is going to be. I think they can probably push him and Miz for quite some time. And I'm looking forward to see what they do putting the belt on him. It's going to be a great way to really, really build that belt. Because last person taking off Miz was what? R-Truth? And then R-Truth lost it? No, it was Bret Hart, and then they did a tournament, and then Miz won it back a week later. It'd be neat to see how long Miz goes up this title. Because it takes some of the starch out of his sales, but he still cuts phenomenal promos. And of course, now we'll probably get to see Jericho leave again so he can go back to his more full-time gigs with Fozzy and his other show, the Downfall. So that was Night of Champions. All in all, it sounded like it was okay. I think the hype going into it is this is another pay-per-view where Miz can really just step up and take over. And the fact that Bill said about SummerSlam, and now with Night of Champions, they need to know exactly when to pull the cork and to really let Miz literally just explode into the main event. If they wait too long, it'll be like Rob Van Dam's title run. They're too little too late. Like Samoa Joe's title run. Too little too late. So hopefully they pull the right time on Miz.